All right, so what I want to go through today is a remake of the first YouTube video I made, which was titled Golf Hip Assessment. When I made the video, I had an idea in my head of making it a little more entertaining. I put a bunch of memes in there, little clips. I thought it was funny. Some people were annoyed by it, some people didn't like it. So since the topic I feel is super important, what I wanted to do was go through it one more time, just a quick, concise way, so that people can use this drill, because I truly feel like this is one of the most important drills that you can do. The value you can get out of this exercise is something that's going to last. It's going to impact your golf swing, it's going to impact your health, it's going to impact the longevity of your game and also the function of your body. This is a hip assessment. So we're going to assess all the ranges of motion that your hip is capable of going through. The great thing is the same thing we do as an assessment can also be used as the exercise. In a golf swing example, whatever range of motion you really lack from your hip, you need to find another place in your body to compensate to find that range of motion. So what happens to a lot of golfers is they lack the ability to rotate their hips. So what they have to then do is use their low back, use their knees, use another part of their body to access that rotation in their swing that they want. And the result is tightness, pain, or a lot of different swing faults or different swing patterns that aren't ideal for a golf swing. So all I want you to do, number one, is create some tension in your body. I'm using a stick. You could easily grab any stable object in your house. So I don't want to use my upper body at all. I don't want to use any other parts of my body, only this hip. So my goal right now is to focus on this hip and take only that through all the ranges of motion that it has. So number one, first range of motion. I'm going to loosen up this front foot. I'm going to externally rotate, bring my foot inside, almost like a hacky sack position. And what I'm going to do is drive that internal rotation as far as I can until I hit my end point. Okay? So I'm maxing out that range of motion. Then number two, I'm going to max out flexion or bring my knee up as high as it can. I'm going to my end point. And what I mean by end point is how far can I go up until another part of my body kicks in to help me gain more range of motion. So if I can get to here just by using my hip, but then to get to here I have to lean back, that means I stop at this point. All right, so that's number two. Number three, we're going to open up the gate to the outside. We're going to abduct. Number four, we're going to drive the knee down and we're going to drive the foot up. So we're internally rotating this hip as far as we can without compensation, and we're going to finish that by finishing the circle back and around. All right, so one more time fast through. Externally rotate, flex high, abduct out, internally rotate back and around. Again, the goal is I want to keep my body tight and only move nice and slow out of this hip joint. And we want to do it in a slow, controlled range of motion. I don't want to just slide through, because then that ignores what we're trying to do, which is we're trying to max out all the ranges of motion that our hip is capable of doing and find out what ranges of motion we don't have. Everybody's hip has a different amount of workspace. So if my workspace is very limited, I'm going to have all kind of compensations that my body has to do in order to go through those ranges of motion. So if we can use this simple exercise to go through the different ranges of motion of your hip and increase the workspace you have, you're just freeing your body up to have a better swing and also to be healthy long term and keep all your joints functioning and moving the way that they're supposed to. So the way I would go about approaching this if you're sitting home watching this is, number one, I would go through the entire range of motion and I would just take a note of which ranges of motion do I struggle with the most. We can start simply by just working on that range of motion. The goal is we're not going to compensate with other parts of our body. So in the third example, if we have a hard time abducting out to the side without turning our body, we really want to lock in tight and we're just going to work on this range of motion. So also, the other part is this is just one direction of all these ranges of motion that your hip has. So we can do the same sequence of movements starting in the opposite direction and essentially work different muscles or different movement out of that same hip joint. So what we would do for the reverse order is we lock in same way. We start with knee bent. We're going to drive straight back into extension. We're going to drive this knee nice and high up over the top. We're going to clear forward. Back to that original position we did before, and down. Back, back, up, and over, right? Same rules apply. We're just moving out of that hip joint, trying to maximize our workspace or maximize our range of motion.